Chapter 4, The Awakening. Some of us have watched by the bedside of one whom we loved, in that last mysterious moment when life has separated from the body, leaving it to return to the elements from which it came. And this life? We have questioned, where does it go, and how, this life, soul, spirit, this indestructible, yet invisible something? How does it begin the strange unaccustomed existence, of which we have known so little? These are the questions we have asked again and again, and the replies have given us much to think about. The awakening, we are told, is a gradual coming into consciousness, yet this unconscious condition differs in different people. A case of long suffering, or brain trouble, or extreme ignorance, or even materialism, might result in a long sleep or dream condition. But the unconscious soul is even then beginning its education for the new life, through the suggestions given by watchful guides and teachers.
There is a great difference in the length of time of this unconscious period of the discarnate soul. Soldiers killed in battle often become conscious almost immediately. They go out in vigorous health. The life principle has not been disturbed by sickness or age. A very great influence abides in the habit of thought while on earth, whether it is a spiritual conviction or a material belief. Many times the spirit comes over into the dream state with beliefs that have been deeply impressed upon it by mortal conditions. For instance, one who had suffered years of extreme illness and pain remained many weeks in the belief that she was still in her poor suffering body. She complained of the cold, called the nurse to cover her up, and could not understand why the attendant was not more watchful, and why her children could not come to her. Many undeveloped souls are constantly coming. We meet and care for them and lead them patiently onward into better knowledge. To meet those who have tried to do right on earth, even though mistaken in their beliefs, is a work of love here, and the way is made bright for them by the friendliness of their reception. There are circles whose principal work is to care for those who arrive without any conception of this life, ignorance pure and simple. People who have never thought or questioned beyond the earthly existence. Many come with their mortal habits of selfishness, pride, ignorance, and folly. These faults must be eliminated before they can begin to progress. It is our happiness to watch this growth out of selfishness into service, out of pride into humility, out of ignorance into knowledge, out of folly into wisdom. Sometimes the pathway upward is long indeed, and filled with repentance and sorrow. Yet through these they may be led into the true life of the Spirit. The ones who are longest retarded, and who come into spiritual joy with almost incredible slowness, are those who have no wish to change, who are wedded to their sins, and could not be happy with pure and noble spirits. For these a lifetime, or even many lifetimes, may pass before their desires change from evil to good.
In strong and beautiful contrast with such experience, is the arrival of one whom we had known during her loving and unselfish earth life. We asked what were her recollections of the awakening.
My recollections here?
Was the reply.
To me now there seems only the remembrance of light that was so clear and beautiful. I had been for a time unconscious, resting as it seemed. Then I began to see vaguely, and to hear exquisite sounds, and I slowly came into the consciousness that I had passed over and that I still lived. Then my good angel, Mary, so surrounded me with her tenderness and affection that I could never more be otherwise than happy.
Later, this same good angel, Mary, said this of our friend.
I was sent to receive her, as I have been sent to many others. She was long in the restful state before consciousness came, and I watched and loved her from the first. I saw her soul as it came into its spiritual inheritance, and her pure spirit was so beautiful that my love was captured before she even knew me.
Another person described her passing in this way.
I did not know I had passed into this life, and I experienced the dream condition you have heard so much about. Then I began to see men as trees walking, as the Bible has it, and I wondered, but I thought it part of the attack that I was vaguely conscious of having experienced. When I finally came to a knowledge of this life, I found myself as ignorant as a child.
Another said.
I was too ill to realize my danger, and passed over without knowing it. But oh, my dear. I was met with such tenderness and love that my life seemed all at once transformed. And I have desired nothing so much as to grow into the same loving service for others. I am with a circle who meet many who, like me, come over alone, and the care that we may give them is a joy greater than I can describe.
Chapter 5, The Spirit Body. It is difficult for the human mind to realize any conditions that lie outside the five physical senses. These, since man was created, have been his guide and protection until he can scarcely conceive of intelligent life existing without them. The spirit body, which cannot be tested through these senses, sight without eyes, hearing without ears, thought without brain, touch, movement, all without the physical equipment, is nearly if not quite incomprehensible. Our repeated questions have brought answers which have enlightened our dull comprehension to a certain extent. We asked one evening if the statement was true that spirit bodies were etheric.
It is true that our bodies are etheric in substance, and we admire more and more their adaptation to spiritual environment. We do not have the material senses, or the material substance. We are constructed, so far as the body is concerned, of finer material. We are not conscious of our bodies, for they serve us without pain or weariness, and we are not constantly taking care of them as on earth.
Can you see each other?
We can see each other, but perceive through different senses. You need not fear for the expression of spiritual life or spirit body, for all is far better than any you have imagined.
You do not breathe, do you have lungs?
No, nor any of the other organs necessary for earth life. The material organs were created for man's use during his material life and are quite unnecessary here. We do not need eyes nor ears, for sight and hearing are through spirit powers. Yet we have the semblance of these in our spirit forms. We do not need the organs of speech, nor the mouth, nor other organs of the material outfit. Yet the outline of the material form is beautiful, and we can well assume that form for ourselves. We have no material limbs. Yet when you see us, the likeness will not be missing. We love the old familiar form, and it becomes more beautiful here, and remains.
Do you have the sense of touch?
We might if we chose, for spirit can give sensation as perfectly as the nerves, but we do not often require this.
One evening Mary wrote.
Many friends are here, wishing news from earth.
Are they all in this room?
We can get into smaller compass than you imagine. Yet if you could see us, you would recognize everyone.
What are you, anyway? Just a thought floating around.
No, we have forms, and they are very like our earthly ones, only better. Spirit is not confined to any particular length, breadth, or thickness. Nevertheless, we have bodies, and do have size if we wish.
I spoke of reading of debates among monks of olden times over the question of how many angels could stand on a needle's point.
That is a good question. I know I could balance on a needle's point, or I could occupy as much room as I ever did on earth.
How did you come into the room? The windows and doors are closed.
You need not think that walls are obstacles to us. We pass through them as easily as light passes through glass.
How does the wall appear to you?
Something like a cloud, through which we move as easily as you would walk through a fog.
You are like an X-ray then.
That is a good comparison as far as movement through obstacles is concerned.
How about rain and storms?
All weather is bright to us. Changes in temperature make no difference, nor clouds, nor rain. We could move away from any tornado if we chose, or we could stay in it and enjoy its motion. We could outride any tempest in a flash, and the rain cannot even moisten the texture of our raiment. Can't you understand, you human child? Wait till you come, and we will prove to you how superior we are to nature's elements.
Can you touch each other, shake hands, for instance?
What are those motions except to express thought? We do not need such expressions, for with us thought expresses itself without medium of touch or of speech, although we can use these if we wish.
Sis, always doubtful and confused about the powers of spirit, asked.
With your spirit sight, can you see D?
She is here and smiling that you are still so ignorant of spirit power. She is near you and could touch you, yet you are doubtful of her presence.
How does she look?
As she looked when on earth, only far more beautiful. Her robes fall about her with soft, cloud-like radiance, and express the same sense of harmony that she loved on earth.
Then Sis asked Dee to tell her how Mary looked.
Mary has dark eyes and is taller than I am. We are not alike in looks, but are alike in perceptions, tastes, and desires. We have different work, and each has different interests. Yet we are closely related. Can you understand?
How about her dress?
She wears delicate colors, as nearly all do. Sometimes rose color, pink, or lavender, but in shades more delicate than any you know. We are never afraid of injuring our robes, for they are not subject to wear or soil. They are never in the way, and we do not step on or get entangled in them. We are clothed in garments that correspond to our mental and spiritual condition. You will appear in a simple white garment at first, and this will change as you change. Mental qualities express themselves outwardly, and different minds express different colors. Minds that are filled with doubt are sometimes clothed in incongruous colors. The destructive forces have coarse garments of the most discordant colors. They imagine themselves in gorgeous apparel, but they will sometimes see themselves as they are, which will be when they reach out for something better. The clothes are made by thought processes, as are all our beautiful surroundings. We are clothed when we first arrive, and only the color remains for us, which is decided by our own thought lives. We can change when we choose, but few changes are made, for the material is indestructible.
We had been talking of dress one evening, and jokingly asked about the prevailing fashions there.
We could never describe the fashions here, for they change with lightning swiftness. We would have to describe the prevailing thought instead. Thought manifests itself in changes of color. Character always differentiates the appearance. The appearance is lovely in proportion as the spirit is lovely. Dress is more than external adornment, it becomes a sort of symbol of character.
One evening my grandfather came, and Mary said,
He is very bright and happy looking, and if you could see his perfect form and youthful appearance, you would not be calling him grandfather.
I spoke of his stooping shoulders when on earth, and Mary came back with this.
Must I repeat that no physical imperfection appears in the spirit form? He is not surprised that you remember his bent figure, but thinks he will be able to surprise you when you come.
A young soldier of whom we had known, had been blown to atoms by a shell. We asked if that would interfere with the spirit's entrance into that life.
The body does not imprison the spirit, neither can the spirit be injured. The soul of the young soldier would arrive here as perfectly as if borne on angel wings.
Then spirit is not subject to accidents.
Spirit is superior to all conditions. I could meet lightning without sensation, or ride on the wings of a tornado, or drop into the greatest heat, or move among polar snows, and all sensations would be pleasant. Spirit is the controlling power. I do not quite know how to express it, but spirit is above and beyond any conflict of the elements, or any material conditions. In our movement through the ether, we have no sense of obstruction, and we pass easily through matter that you consider solid. We are infinitely finer than any material known on earth.
Could you descend into the earth?
It is through spirit that the treasures of the earth have been found. It is through spiritual impressions on the mind of man that he has been sent to seeking and using the hidden riches which are there for the finding.
Speaking of the higher planes, we are told.
Life on the higher planes is more ethereal than here, and all conditions are more ethereal. Coming to this plane from a higher one is a little like descending from an altitude where the air is light to a lowland where the air is dense. Like a life accustomed to the rarefied air of mountaintops, descending into deep pits of the earth, where the air is too heavy for them to breathe.
Chapter 6, Spirit Senses. We have been schooled by earthly teachers into the belief that once we have passed the gateway of death, the fair land of promise, the paradise, the heavenly home, would lie before us in all its perfection, and in one moment of rapture we would see and understand, and immediately all knowledge as well as vision would be ours. Instead of this instantaneous fairyland of delight, we have been told of the more normal one of growth, of steadily increasing knowledge, the continued unfolding of new fields of vision, and always beyond, the unending vistas of greater knowledge, greater marvels and greater joy. It is said that, at first even the spiritual vision is dim, and many mistakes are made. And one speaking of his own experience said,
I did not attain spiritual powers at once. The spiritual vision was especially long in coming. This caused an unnatural appearance of the surroundings, and as I could not discern objects distinctly, I was often mistaken. The hearing was also blurred and indistinct, but everything appeared so much better than the life I had left, that even then I was happy.
Professor William James has written many times for us in later months. He said one evening,
I have been trying patiently to perfect my hearing of earth sounds. This is a study, as well as most of the other gifts we strive for here. I have improved so much that I can often hear your conversation together. I can see better also, and can distinguish the different personalities of individuals there.
We asked if he could explain clairvoyance.
Clairvoyance is the sight of the spirit. The sight which has its own light, and can penetrate distance, can visualize behind walls of stone, or even through the earthly covering of mortal bodies. For it can see mind, as I just now saw your mind, and the question poising and ready to be liberated by speech.
At another time we asked Mary if she could see us.
We can see you and are here in the room with you.
You are not much more material than an X-ray.
Not much, but we have all that is essential. Do not for a moment think that we are lacking in anything that goes to make up life, perception, or intelligence.
But there is a limit to what you can see of material things, is there not?
I can hardly explain spiritual vision, but it does not depend upon the optic nerve.
Does it depend upon someone here?
I think that has something to do with it. For I see you when talking to you, but not always at other times.
There is, no doubt, much misunderstanding in regard to the ability of the discarnate spirit to discern material things and material happenings. If we think of our departed friends as active entities on the other side, most of us imagine them as watching with increased interest those they have left behind. Perhaps few stop to analyze what they really do think and imagine, but usually, I think, there is a vague impression that the spirit can see everything in our daily life, and know all we are doing and even thinking. This seems to be far from the truth. A few who are strongly psychic by nature and fitted by study and training for such observation, can do this. Of the others, only those who are linked by a strong bond of attraction, of love or sympathy, have such powers. And the extent of this vision and knowledge, outside of psychic clairvoyance, is in proportion to the strength of these ties. Even when we are seen by our loved ones, they often only see our soul or inner spirit, and frequently are unable to read a single one of our thoughts. One evening we sat quite a long time without any manifestation from over there, and we jokingly said, "Guess they must have gone to a picture show." Immediately the pencil dashed off.
You are right. We have been to a picture show.
Just what do you mean by that?
We mean we can see so much that is beyond your vision that is wonderful, that we can well call it a picture show. We not only see your surroundings, but we see your spirit selves, which are far finer than your earthly ones.
These chapters were all read aloud for their correction. When we came to the above, Mary added the following.
That is a limited answer. If you could for one instant visualize what we actually see, you would not wonder at our expression.
Can you tell us just what you are seeing right now?
The working of the human mind is an increasing wonder to us here who were so blind to it all on earth. The mind occupies the first place in our vision, then the material by which it is encased, then its environment and the influences playing upon it. The story of the mind, one might call it. In an earthly picture show, the writer of the play stumbles darkly along the same path, only more often bringing to the light the tragedies and woes which are generated in the mind. The story as we see it here is so often written in the pure white light of unselfish purpose, that we wish we could give this picture to you. Many influences are there, unseen by you, that to our sight glow with heavenly radiance, and it is the influence of such vision that keeps us from despair over the earthly mistakes and crimes.
Once we were told,
Your spiritual body is as much with you now as it will be here. Only there its powers are obscured by the five senses. Those five senses make havoc with spiritual logic and instruction. Why not give your studied thought and investigation to what is beyond and outside of those five earthly and material powers? They are given to serve you through the earthly phase of your journey hitherward, but were not meant to chain, clog, and darken the higher impressions. Five senses. You have 100 here, and all more perfect than any of the five.
are you not exaggerating in that?
Not a bit. Look with spirit sight, hear with spirit hearing, comprehend with spirit understanding, and the vastness of the universe, the majesty of its glory and beauty, will make you scorn the five pitiful senses.
Partly in an explanatory way, another communicator wrote.
We have perceptions which might rank as senses. The five earthly ones are also increased and multiplied by their varied powers, that they might well be called additional ones. Then we have perceptions not dependent upon sight, hearing, touch or taste. These belong to spirit intuitions.
I suppose you hardly have need of the sense of taste.
Not as you know it, although there are many things that appeal to us almost like that sense. We have fruits and flowers and many other things that appeal to both taste and smell, but we do not gain them through material organs as you do.
We asked about other sensations.
We have sensations analogous to the mortal ones, though only in a spiritual sense. We do not need to clasp the hand to show our friendship. There is no need of kisses or other expressions of affection. We have the spiritualized form of them which is higher and finer.
Do you use language there?
We can speak if we wish, and oratory, poetry and lessons are given in word language. But in ordinary intercourse ideas flash from mind to mind without need of words. We speak with spirit organs as we use other spirit powers. But this you can hardly understand as yet.
Can you read the written words here, or do you get them through our minds?
I read mostly through the mind. I have not learned the other way yet. Others can read written words, but I have not progressed so far.
If there were a picture in this room that neither of us knew or saw, could you tell what it was?
I doubt it, unless it was the likeness of someone I knew and loved, and I am not sure even of that. We see your soul or spirit selves, and do not discern the physical very clearly except as a shadow of the soul. It is like seeing your true self through a veil. The material flesh is the veil. A picture does not have the inner spirit. It is only an impression of a material body, and that is hard for us to see. Some can see perfectly all material things, but my own power is at present limited.
Chapter 7, Spirit Land. Perhaps now we can picture the soul with its newly acquired powers of observation, its spiritual vision. What of its environment? What is there to see? It is practically beyond the powers of the material brain to conceive of the reality, the substantiality, of the spirit world, the objects that the inhabitants of spirit land see with the perception that corresponds to our sight. From various descriptions that we have read, and from the information given to us, there is reason to believe that the landscapes, trees, and buildings of the spirit world are more real, are more nearly a material substance, than we might think. The suggestion given elsewhere in the book, that mind in that realm has power to build up these objects from electrons by using laws of which we know nothing, gives us food for thought. The results of such work are not perceptible to our senses, of course, but they are seen by the new powers of spirit. How little we would know of air and most forms of gas if our other senses registered them no better than does our sight. Can we not imagine a sight perception so superior to the one we now possess, that sensations would be registered and recognized, not only from gases, but from even more tenuous material? Is there reason for denying that electrons may be controlled by laws we have not known? We certainly do not deny the reality of atoms or molecules, yet what inconceivable numbers of these must be massed together before they can be sensed by any of our 5 material powers? Is it safe to assert the impossibility of some other combination of these, or of electrons, than those we have known? Scientists of course are loath to take any hypothesis into consideration involving unknown laws. But most of them accept ether, the characteristics of which seem in some ways to defy known laws. This means that if ether exists, it is controlled by laws as yet unrecognized. There may be other unrecognized forces. There may be substance and material in the spirit realm. Of course our inquisitive minds were early seeking information as to what the spirit world was like. Were there trees and flowers and buildings? Were there mountains and rivers and beautiful landscapes?
There are gardens and flowers here of exceeding beauty. They are formed by thought processes according to certain laws, and only those who love beauty and form are entrusted with the work. Architecture is also a thought product. You need not try to understand the operation, for it belongs to spirit and to spirit alone.
One who was at that time engaged in architecture and in color formation there, told us one evening,
"We are building and building, making halls and rooms and houses in the most exquisite way imaginable, and never for a moment have to halt for lack of means or lack of material. Truly the many mansions are here, and beautiful beyond description. When you come you will have a home that will express your most artistic fancy and your greatest desire for beauty."
Can you give us a description of the building you use as a meeting hall?
I will try. It is not of marble or wood or stone, but a beautiful building of white material, shining and pure, with dome of gold in color, with halls and rooms in various meeting places and appointments for the different studies.
Do you have pictures?
Pictures are used to illustrate many different studies, but these are more evanescent thoughts thrown forward pictorially to illustrate something in the lesson.
Do you have no permanent pictures?
Pictures are painted by artists here as they are on Earth, only with different canvas and color. But once painted, they can remain until replaced by others, or until the artists themselves erase them.
Does this hall of learning appear to each person the same in every detail?
The building remains, and those who enter find the same halls, the same rooms, the same laboratories, the same equipment for explanation, and the same books, if I may so name some of the thought impressions. You seem to think there is no substantiality to spirit, while we know it is the only substantiality.
Being told that they were creations of the mind, it was very difficult for us to realize their permanence, and we more than once asked about it. You say the park or landscape is a creation of the mind?
Yes, but more real than you imagine of mental pictures, because all can see and enjoy the same.
Is this mental picture of a park a mirage or a reality?
It is a reality, for mind is the only reality here.
Is such a picture permanent, or does it change?
It would remain until altered by command. It has permanency affected only by the directing wills of the powers who control.
Can you tell us what the flowers are like?
Try to imagine a flower that neither fades nor withers, yet may disappear to make room for other flowers when so desired. We do not destroy, but they become a part of the etheric substance again, to be used later in other creations. We can produce growing plants if we choose, and watch the bud come into flower, and leaf and stem perfect themselves. Or we can create the flower full grown and beautiful.
Once when Dee had been telling us of her little pupils, and of their play in the gardens, she said,
"The gardens devoted to children are far more beautiful than any known to you. The flowers are of exquisite beauty, many-hued, and with forms unknown on earth. There are lakes with water crystal clear, fountains softly splashing, tree-shaded nooks and corners, and wide, open places for games or play. Can you imagine children playing in lake or fountain without spoiling their beautiful garments or catching cold? Can you imagine a sunshine that does not burn, or winds that bring no dust, or play and exercise followed by no fatigue?
Will we be able to see the beautiful landscapes from the first, when we arrive?
You will be able to enjoy nature from the first. We have landscapes here, and can go on to other scenes as we wish, the same as you travel to new scenes and places.
Are there changes there? Do the landscapes change? Do your beautiful flowers change?
The things we wish to remain are stable, but our wishes change, and our surroundings adapt themselves to our thoughts. Would you like to live in an old house when a more beautiful one could be yours? Would you there keep a garden of weeds if your larger intelligence could produce flowers? Everything here evolves as we evolve. Growth and change are the laws of life both here and there.
One evening we called for Dee, and Mary replied that she would soon arrive. When she came, Sis said,
Dee, I was thinking of your coming when I called, and wondering how you came. Whether you walked on the ground or came through the air?
I was coming quickly so that my feet did not exactly touch the ground. But I can walk if I choose.
What is the ground like? Can you describe it?
We walk on solid ground, you might say, but not as earth ground would seem. It has no dust. No rain can make it impassable, nor mud to soil our garments or feet. It is more like a glass foundation. That is not a good comparison, but it is as near as I can think just now. Always smooth, dry, dustless. And always beautiful in its winding way or broad thoroughfare. We may walk through groves, or by running stream, or sit by lake or fountain. Or we may meet others in the broad and beautiful streets. Yet we do not need to use these paths or streets unless we choose, for we can come more quickly, rising above all the habitations and all the natural loveliness, and move swiftly through the air. Does this satisfy you? We are not confined to any one way, but can choose our own.
Can you in any way describe what the ground is made of?
Not exactly, any more than we can describe the material of which our homes are made. There are some things here that are so nearly indescribable to you, that all we can do is to make an attempt at their appearance. No spirit material is exactly like the mortal, and our names for them would convey no meaning to you.
Do the trees and flowers there have any life that is comparable to plant life here?
The life of a plant here depends upon the thought of the one who conceived it. For flowers and plants are the work of artists, and each artist has a different conception of beauty. Hence we have a variety and beauty not known on earth.
At another time she said,
There is no beauty on earth equal to the beauty here. Never fear for lack of variety of expression, or lack of appreciation.
I said it seemed rather vague to us, because it was so difficult to think of all these things as more than unstable visions, where there was no solid material as we know material.
You cannot understand the conditions, but you need not think of these things moving away from you, disappearing like a dream. They stay. I saw the same beautiful creations when I first came that I see now. We love our surroundings and do not change them except for some vital reason. If a tree was in your way, would you not cut it down? Or a pillar that did not correspond with the rest of the architecture, would you not replace it? Something of the kind might induce a change here, but we rest in the very permanency of the things we love. Nevertheless, you must not forget that the heavenly universe is limitless, and millions of spirits are creating new homes and new surroundings out in space. And the beauty grows and grows, and a change of scene can be had in an instant's time by a journey into space. Spirit is the only thing that persists. Then why cannot you conceive of its permanence?
If you have so many vast territories, I should think it might interfere with movement to other planets and universes.
Not at all. Remember, we are not confined to the ground. We are not hindered by obstacles, for we move over, as easily as in a straight line. Vast spaces are given to beauty of scene or of landscape, but remember the ease and quickness with which we move. What would 100 miles be, for instance, for light to travel?
Again, when speaking of beauty, we were told,
We have everything that pertains to beauty, either of dress or scenery or gems or anything else. Make no mistake, your world has nothing to compare with the beauty of this.
I had been questioning about their surroundings in various ways, and asked here. I realized that beautiful things are there. But I was thinking that one would not need many things there that are used on earth, such as a pocket knife, a pencil, a sewing machine, or an automobile, and I wonder just what will be there.
Suppose you needed a knife, why, then create one. That is within the range of spirit power. But you would find it quicker to perform the service without the bother of making a knife. And this applies to other things as well. We do not need the sewing machine when we can create the dress by quicker and better means.
Yes, I realize that you really need little that we have here. Even your houses are not needed for protection from storms and cold.
We do love our homes, and we love to have them beautiful. But they do not require the care that is given earthly homes. Beauty is carefree here. We wish we could give you a picture of our home, but you would want to come right away if we did.
After this chapter was arranged thus far, Mary and Dee, in answer to a question, gave an account of their experiences and education there. This gives further information on the subjects mentioned in the last 3 chapters, and is given here just as we have it on our records, except that a portion is omitted that is of too intimate a nature to publish. Mary said,
I was very ignorant when I came over. I was dazed at first and did not recognize myself as spirit. But my good angel was there, and I was led into comprehension through suggestion and through teaching. But it had to be very simple at first. Will you know that the first thing I learned was how to walk? In other words, how to move as spirits move, with mental instead of physical effort. When I found I could move from place to place, I was as eager and happy as a child. And this lasted quite a while, for you see, I was only a child in this new life. Then I had to visualize differently. I had not learned the difference between physical and spiritual sight. This took longer, and meantime I made some mistakes. After that my hearing developed. I do not mean that I had no perception of what we might call hearing, but it was really thought transference or telepathy, as you might call it, from my guide. It was some time before I actually heard spirit voices. And then after a longer time, I began to hear faint sounds of music, like some far-off exquisite orchestra. I can never tell you how this affected me, nor with what joy I discovered that I was musical in my soul. That was one of the things I was denied, for the most part, in my earthly life, and I did not realize my own sensitiveness to sound, nor did I dream that sound could bring such ecstasy. Then I knew what I wanted to study, and after a long time spent in acquiring speech, hearing, sight, and movement, I took up that study in earnest. I loved it and did not suppose anything could be equal in attraction. But finally my guide called me to go with her to meet others who had come over as ignorant and as helpless as I had been, and suddenly my heart was touched, and my love went out to them without effort. So these 2 were my regular occupations, and later I added astronomy to a degree, never to a proficiency, and after that, travel. I had really not cared for a home at that time. I went from hall to hall, temple to temple, seeking knowledge. And not until Dee came, and our love wished an abiding place that we might call home, did I begin to think of architecture. Dee will tell you the rest.
Can you tell us how you came to be leader of that circle?
Well, I was so eager for knowledge that perhaps I gained faster than others. Then my work with the newly arrived souls, many of whom longed only for knowledge of their friends, and to send word to them of their safety, made me begin to study communication, to add that to my other occupations. I found in this work so many ways through which I could give comfort, that I grew more and more interested. And gradually others who were attracted to the subject gathered about me, until we simply became a circle. As I had studied the subject more than the others, the leadership was left to me. And so you see it was very simple. All a matter of attraction and congenial thought.
Then your circle is primarily one for communication.
Yes, that is the main work of this circle. But we are not confined to the one study. You will find great diversity of study and tastes and acquirement when you come, and will realize that through variety we avoid anything like monotony.
Now D, we want you to go on with the story.
I will begin with our homemaking. Mary came near to being just pure intellect before I arrived. But she found her heart then, and our companionship was ideal from the first. I wanted a home. She did not at first care for it, but now loves it as much as I. We decided upon the architecture, and wished rooms enough for friends. And of course, I wished pictures and books and beauty in every part of the home. We planned it together, and when you come, you will find in it what I desired on earth: beauty, rest, books, music, halls for entertaining others, and quiet places for those who wish for quiet. The setting is in a grove, and I know you will love it as we do.
As you do not need kitchens, dining rooms, or bedrooms, just what use do you have for a home?
We go there for the comfort of companionship. I mean quiet companionship. For our homes are as sacred to our personality as an earthly home. No one intrudes, no crowds gather. But quiet companionship is there, and the many things we love: books, music, pictures, rest, or the entertaining of friends. Nothing is lacking except those things necessary to mortal comfort or convenience.
Just how do you entertain? You do not play cards or give afternoon teas, do you?
Mary says. The manner of entertaining is as diverse as personality. Some have readings, some have artistic scenes, or you might almost say, dramas. Others at times give pure fun-loving entertainments, and all is well, and everyone happy.
Do you have great dramas?
Will you know that the great actors still give great impersonations? And, indeed, much history is told in that way. Shakespeare wrote historic plays, and actors here are greatly in demand for historic representations.
For lack of a better place in the book to put it, I will include here a paragraph on art that was given us.
Art is a big subject here, for it embraces all beauty, as well as all combinations of beautiful material. The beauty of art is the beauty of production. And you must remember that the natural beauty you love on earth is here one of the arts of this life. Scenery, mountain, stream, forest, vale, and hill. Beautiful homes, beautiful statuary, paintings, libraries, and even the colors and the garments we wear, and the dresses we fashion, are all in the way of art. Can you see what art means in this spirit life, when the touch of spirit, like a fairy wand, can create the most marvelous beauty and the finest adornments? We can call them into being and preserve them as we choose, and can scatter them to make way for other beauty. This all takes study. Each and every one is a class, a school, a craft by itself, and the students of that craft or school prepare themselves by education in the ways necessary for each work.